The corridor of the maternity ward was filled with a sharp smell of antiseptic. The white walls, the even glow of fluorescent lamps, and the rustling of lab coats created an illusion of calm. But inside Alina there was only anxiety. She sat on the couch holding her belly. 7th month already. The baby was moving actively. The doctor had just left, saying she needed more rest and less stress. Alina knew that the words about peace would feel like a knife to her husband Artem. He hated when someone told her what to do, as if it questioned his authority. The door suddenly swung open and Artem came into the room. Tall, well-dressed, an expensive watch on his wrist. He could have looked like a successful, respectable businessman, if not for the expression on his face. Rage was boiling in his eyes. "Complaining again?" he said quietly, but there was steel in that whisper. Alina looked up at him, fear frozen in her eyes. "I just told the doctor I was feeling unwell. I need rest, Artem." "She needs rest," he repeated with a twisted grin. "Do you even understand who brought you here? Who pays for all of this? For your life, for your whims?" He stepped closer. She instinctively recoiled, pressing herself against the wall. Artem grabbed her wrist so hard she cried out. "You will do only what I say," he hissed, and the predator Alina had feared since the beginning of the marriage resurfaced in his face. "Please Artem, don't," her voice trembled, but he seemed not to hear. His hand turned into a rough shove, and Alina hit the wall painfully, barely keeping her balance. Sharp pain pierced her stomach. The baby responded with a strong jolt. The door suddenly opened, and a young nurse peeked in. She froze for a second and then shouted, "What are you doing? She's pregnant." Her cry echoed down the corridor. In the next moment another nurse ran in. Then a hospital security guard. Artem spun toward them. "Get out. She's my wife. Don't interfere." But it was too late. Alina was sliding down the wall to the floor, clutching her stomach. Tears streamed down her cheeks, her breath was uneven. Doctors rushed in, raised alarm and shouted, "Stretch her quickly. Complication." They tried to pull Artem away from Alina. He resisted, yelling threats, but the guard held him until the police arrived. Minutes later 2 officers burst in, cuffed him. "I'll make you all pay," Artem shouted, struggling. "You don't know who you're dealing with." He was taken out to the shouts of the staff and the stares of patients peeking out from the corridor. Alina was already on the stretcher, surrounded by doctors. Through the noise she heard a familiar, steady voice. "My daughter." Her father, Sergei Nikolaevich, tall, gray-haired, with a cold expression, entered the room. He approached, bent over Alina and squeezed her hand. "Hush, I'm here. Everything will be fine now." His gaze flicked toward the door where Artem disappeared in handcuffs. In her father's eyes a steel fire ignited. "He will pay," he said quietly, so much so that the nurse shuddered. For the first time in a long time, Alina closed her eyes, feeling that she was no longer alone. Only a week had passed since Artem was taken from the hospital in handcuffs. Moscow was buzzing with news. Social media debated the scandal. Business journals wrote loud headlines. Krylov's empire on the verge of collapse. Partners abandon Artem Krylov. What had seemed indestructible began to crumble like a sandcastle underwater. Sergei Nikolaevich, Alina's father, acted coldly and precisely. In decades of business he had dealt with bigger warriors, but this time it was personal. Every move was aimed at erasing Artem from the business world. First, he withdrew investments that had gone into his son-in-law's companies through controlled structures. It was the first blow, sudden and painful. Then came the second. Banks with which Sergei Nikolaevich had long-standing connections started massively revoking Artem's credit lines. "Sorry," said a representative of one of the largest banks over the phone. "The terms no longer meet our requirements." Artem was furious. His office, once a symbol of prosperity, with leather chairs, a massive mahogany desk, expensive paintings, turned into a stage of hysteria. Papers flew to the trash, phone receivers slammed down. "Traitors," he screamed, calling partners. "We had agreements." But one by one, partners remembered hidden clauses, found reasons to terminate contracts. No one wanted to be associated with a man whose name had become synonymous with violence against a pregnant woman. Meanwhile, the media poured dirt on Artem. Photos from the hospital, eyewitness accounts, doctors' comments, everything came out. Rumors multiplied, journalists dug into his past, found shady deals and old scandals. On the 5th day after the incident, the tax authorities paid him a visit. Soon the prosecutor's office showed interest. Even the employees who still remained began to submit resignation papers. "Mr. Krylov," said his lawyer, barely hiding his unease, "you must be ready for lawsuits. There's a chance you'll lose most of your assets." Artem sat in his dim office, clutching his temples. His empire was collapsing before his eyes. At the same time, in the countryside house of Sergei Nikolaevich, the atmosphere was different. The spacious mansion with panoramic windows was filled with the light of sunset. In the living room, Alina sat on a soft armchair. In her hands was an ultrasound image taken the day before. A little figure, a future life for which she held on. Her father entered quietly but confidently. He sat beside her, placed his hand over hers. It's over, my daughter. Krulov's business no longer exists. His accounts are frozen, assets seized, reputation destroyed. Alina took a deep breath, as if for the first time allowing herself to relax. So he won't be able to hurt us anymore? Sergei Nikolaevich nodded. His face remained stern, but tenderness showed in his eyes. No one will dare raise a hand against you again. She pressed the ultrasound image to her chest and whispered, "Thank you, Papa. You saved both of us." Outside, the lights of Moscow were coming on, and in that glow Alina felt safe for the first time in a long time. The empire of her tormentor had fallen, and her life, and her child's, was just beginning.